Empires rise and fall. The Roman Empire, once a beacon of civilization, crumbled into dust. The Mayan civilization, with its intricate cities and advanced knowledge, vanished into the jungle. These are not just stories from the past. They are stark reminders of our own civilization's fragility. Wars played a role, tearing societies apart from within and without. Natural disasters like earthquakes and droughts weakened their foundations. Internal strife, often fueled by economic inequality and political instability, eroded their resilience. The Roman Empire, for instance, was plagued by overexpansion, corruption, and barbarian invasions. The Mayan civilization suffered from deforestation, overpopulation, and climate change. The collapse of past civilizations holds valuable lessons for us today. It reminds us that the choices we make today will determine the fate of our own civilization. Our world today faces a new breed of threats. These threats are interconnected and more complex than ever before. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is here, and its effects are being felt globally. From rising sea levels to extreme weather events, the planet is sending us a clear message. Economic inequality is widening the gap between the rich and the poor. This disparity breeds resentment, instability, and social unrest. Political instability is on the rise, fueled by polarization, misinformation, and a lack of trust in institutions. Technological risks, once confined to science fiction, are now a stark reality. Artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and cyber warfare have the potential to reshape our world in profound and unpredictable ways. We must proceed with caution and foresight to ensure that these technologies are used for good, not for harm. The time to act is now. Climate change is the most pressing threat facing humanity today. The Earth's temperature is rising at an alarming rate, primarily due to human activities such as the burning of fossil fuels. Rising sea levels, caused by the melting of glaciers and ice sheets, threaten coastal communities and infrastructure worldwide. Extreme weather events such as hurricanes, droughts, and wildfires are becoming more frequent and intense. These events cause widespread damage, loss of life, and economic disruption. Ecosystem collapse is another consequence of climate change. As temperatures rise and weather patterns shift, many plant and animal species are struggling to adapt. The consequences of climate change are far-reaching and interconnected. Addressing this global challenge requires a collective effort, one that involves reducing greenhouse gas emissions and investing in renewable energy. We must adapt to the changes that are already underway. Economic inequality is not just a moral issue, it is a fundamental threat to the stability and well-being of our societies. When the gap between the rich and the poor widens, it creates a breeding ground for social unrest, political instability, and economic stagnation. History is replete with examples of societies that have crumbled under the weight of economic inequality. Today we are witnessing a resurgence of economic inequality on a global scale. The concentration of wealth in the hands of a few is reaching unprecedented levels while millions struggle to make ends meet. This disparity is unsustainable and dangerous. It undermines social cohesion as people become increasingly divided along economic lines, and it erodes trust in institutions as people perceive the system to be rigged in favor of the wealthy and powerful. Addressing economic inequality requires a multi-pronged approach. This includes investing in education and job training, strengthening social safety nets, and reforming tax systems to ensure that the wealthy pay their fair share. Section 5. Technology's double-edged sword. Technology has been a driving force behind human progress for centuries. It has allowed us to overcome countless challenges, improve our quality of life, and connect with one another in ways that were once unimaginable. However, as technology advances at an exponential rate, it is essential to recognize that it is not a panacea. Every technological innovation comes with its own set of risks and challenges. Artificial intelligence, while holding immense promise, also raises concerns about job displacement, algorithmic bias, and the potential for autonomous weapons systems to fall into the wrong hands. We must ensure that AI is developed and deployed responsibly, with appropriate safeguards in place. Biotechnology offers hope for curing diseases and increasing food production, but raises ethical dilemmas regarding genetic engineering and cloning. Nuclear weapons continue to pose an existential threat to humanity. The proliferation of these weapons and the risk of accidental or intentional detonation remain serious concerns. We must work towards the eventual elimination of nuclear weapons and strengthen international cooperation to prevent their use. The rapid pace of technological advancement requires us to be vigilant and proactive in addressing the risks that come with it. Section 6. Visions of collapse. The collapse of civilizations is not a new phenomenon. History is replete with examples of once great societies that have crumbled into dust. By studying these patterns, we can gain insights into the potential threats facing our own civilization and take steps to avert disaster. One common scenario is collapse due to environmental degradation. Societies that overexploit their natural resources often sow the seeds of their own destruction. The ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia and Easter Island serve as stark reminders of the consequences of ecological recklessness. Another scenario is collapse triggered by climate change. The Mayan civilization, for example, is believed to have collapsed in part due to a prolonged drought that devastated its agricultural production and led to widespread famine and social unrest. As climate change accelerates in the 21st century, we face similar risks of crop failures, water scarcity, and mass displacement. Resource depletion is another potential trigger for collapse. As the global population continues to grow and demand for resources such as oil, water, and minerals increases, competition for these finite resources could escalate into conflict and warfare. Social and political factors can also contribute to collapse. Societies that are riven by inequality, corruption, and a lack of trust in institutions are particularly vulnerable. When people lose faith in their leaders and institutions, they are more likely to resort to violence or seek refuge in extremist ideologies. In many cases, multiple factors converge to create a perfect storm that overwhelms a society's ability to cope. Section 7. Charting a new course. The challenges facing our civilization are daunting, but they are not insurmountable. We have the knowledge, the resources, and the capacity to chart a new course, one that leads to a more sustainable, just, and equitable future. But time is of the essence. We must act now with urgency and determination to avert disaster and build a better world for generations to come. Transitioning to renewable energy is paramount. We must break our dependence on fossil fuels, which are the primary drivers of climate change. Investing in solar, wind, geothermal, and other renewable energy sources will not only reduce greenhouse gas emissions but also create jobs, improve public health, and enhance energy security. Promoting global cooperation is essential. The challenges we face are global in nature and require global solutions. We must strengthen international institutions, foster dialogue and diplomacy, and work together to address shared threats such as climate change, pandemics, and terrorism. Ensuring the equitable distribution of technology is crucial. Technological advancements have the potential to solve many of the world's most pressing problems, but only if they are accessible to all. We must bridge the digital divide, promote education and training in STEM fields, and ensure that the benefits of technology are shared widely. Fostering a culture of sustainability is paramount. Section 8. Our choice. The future of our civilization hangs in the balance. The choices we make today will determine whether we continue down a path of environmental degradation, social unrest, and potential collapse, or whether we forge a new path towards a more sustainable and equitable future. The evidence is clear. Our current trajectory is unsustainable. Climate change is accelerating, inequality is widening, and trust in institutions is eroding. We are on the brink of a precipice, and the time to act is now. The good news is that we have the power to change course. We have the knowledge, the resources, and the technology to address the challenges we face. What we need now is the political will, the moral courage, and the collective action to make it happen. The choice is ours. Section 9. A time for hope. Despite the daunting challenges we face, there is reason for hope. Humanity has overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles before. We have the capacity for innovation, cooperation, and resilience. The very fact that we are aware of the threats facing us is a sign of progress. It means that we have the opportunity to change course. Throughout history, there have been countless examples of individuals and communities coming together to overcome adversity. From the abolition of slavery to the fight for civil rights, from the eradication of smallpox to the Montreal Protocol that phased out ozone-depleting substances, we have shown that we are capable of great things when we work together. The challenges we face today are complex and interconnected, but they are not insurmountable. By embracing the principles of sustainability, justice, and cooperation, we can create a future where all people have the opportunity to thrive. This is not a time for despair, it is a time for action.